Last week I had a couple of things coming up I wanted to announce, and one of those was that this afternoon we will get our briefing on the body cameras in the police department. Today I don't have much to announce. We're near the end of our budget, and it's one of the least eventful budget discussions that I've been in. This is my 13th of these, and we're all getting along. We're not quarreling with each other. I'm sorry if that gives you less to write about. So I don't really have much to announce today. We're going to get to the revenue discussion on Wednesday, and we will make the big decisions by Thursday. And I'm not seeing any obstacles in the way of, taking our straw vote on Thursday and concluding this very amicably. I think we're in a very good place. So I'll take any questions that you all have, and if you don't have any, then we can all go to lunch.
You met with people about the Purple Line last week. You came out of it pessimistically, and some of the reports talk about a few days later what you still think of what came out of that meeting.
So Matt Bush asked for my comments on the meeting that we held last week with State Transportation Secretary Pete Ron. As often occurs, what I said was not precisely what the headline indicated. So the headline in the Post said that Secretary Ron was pessimistic. I didn't say that he was pessimistic. I said I found no reason for optimism. The Secretary of Transportation said that the governor is skeptical about the jobs projections, and I don't know any other way to project the number of jobs than to hire a competent econometrician, as we did, and do an in-depth study, as Dr. Metcalf did. And so we have those data, and they're enormously favorable for job generation. So if the governor is still expressing skepticism, that's what gave me concern, because it's just so vividly clear to me, as I've said here many times, that if Maryland's open for business and if we're trying to attract jobs and investment, the nearest term decision that we can make in that direction is to build the Purple Line. I hope he goes along, but honestly, the indication from Secretary Ron indicated that the governor just isn't feeling the project, that it just doesn't really seem to appeal to him. And I can't understand why. I don't think it's logical. I don't think it's consistent with his policy focus, and it would be a very bad decision for the state of Maryland if he rejects it. We're still awaiting his decision. It could come this week.
Is that with the latest you've heard about when the decision may come from him?
Well, the Secretary Ron gave a date of May 17th as a possibility. He said that there had been some delays as a result of the events in Baltimore, but that he was still hoping to have a decision in mid-May, and that May 17th was still mid-May.
Okay.
But that wasn't definitive. I mean, he obviously makes himself available to meet with Governor Hogan whenever Governor Hogan asks him.
Can you share just a little bit about that meeting? Did you go on the bus tour?
I didn't go on the bus tour.
Okay.
No, I've been to Montgomery County.
Just tell us a little bit more about the meeting. What was discussed?
It was a really good discussion, and I like Pete Ron. I mean, he's very affable and knowledgeable. He's gotten up to speed on a lot of projects. He's obviously new to the state, but he's working hard, and he's been very accessible to us. This was my third meeting with him, and he came out to the county to see and experience our projects firsthand. And we talked about a wide range of topics. Al Rushdie, our acting director of transportation, had prepared slides, which I'm sure are available to the press if you want them, outlining all of the county's priorities in a wide range of areas: roads, intersections, and transit. So it was not a meeting only about the Purple Line.
And was there any follow-up after the bus tour? What was traffic like that day?
I'm afraid I wasn't on the bus tour, so I'm not able to answer those questions. But Al Rushdie should be able to tell you how the bus tour went. I think it was an opportunity to let the secretary see and experience firsthand not only just traffic, but also where our priorities are.
If the governor did go forward with a sort of reduced cost version of the Purple Line, how would we be able to, are you at all concerned that that would mean cutting corners, or that it wouldn't be as effective a project?
Well, Pete Ron was not able to tell us when we met with him last week the specific cost reductions yet. They're not ready to go public with those yet. So I would imagine that based on the issues I've been hearing about, things like noise walls may not occur. Public art at stations, which I have been kind of excited about, that might not occur. Those are two things that I would anticipate might be dropped. But we just don't know yet. They haven't been able to tell us what the cost reductions are, so I don't know whether or not to be concerned. Look, if he approves the project, then I will assume that it's being approved in a manner that enables a good project that will achieve our ridership targets. And you know, if they've found a way working with the private bidders to achieve cost reductions in the abstract, I'm not opposed to saving money, of course. Saving money in general is a good thing.
A great segue to the fuel energy tax.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the proposed reduction?
So last week, the joint committee, the Transportation Infrastructure, Energy and Environment Committee, and the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee were deadlocked. And there were 3 council members who voted to place a reduction on the energy tax on our reconciliation list. And there were 3 council members who voted not to place it there. So we're not actually going to the full county council on Wednesday with any recommendation on the energy tax. So it will remain to be seen what it is that council members decide to do. Last year, we had a pretty contentious discussion on this issue. And that was the issue, how much of a reduction in the energy tax that really held up passage of the budget, although ultimately we did pass the budget, and we agreed on a 7% reduction last year. And what we did last year was that we placed a 5% reduction on the reconciliation list, and then we put 5 increments of 1% each. Each percentage is roughly $1 million. So what we can afford to do this year remains to be seen, and what a majority of council members' sentiment is remains to be seen. And my role is just to kind of get us to a budget. So I'm not falling on my sword for a particular reduction myself, although I favor continuing to fulfill the promise that we made, that we would not hang on to the increase in the energy tax that we adopted in 2011. I hope that, you know, I'm in favor of a reduction, but how much that will amount to is subject to the will of the body, and I'm not really pushing for any particular number, because I just want us to finish this out as amicably and cooperatively as we began, and I think we will.
Are you expecting the council will make a vote to put something on the reconciliation list?
You know, I just don't know. At the moment, it looks as though council members Berliner, Florine, and Katz strongly favor a large reduction in the energy tax. I would favor a large reduction in the energy tax. That's 4. Last year, there was not a 5th vote for a 10% reduction in the energy tax. And in terms of where the votes break out, last year, Mr. Andrews was a strong proponent, and Mr. Katz, who has that seat now, is also a strong proponent. So I don't think the dynamic is all that much different here with respect to how large the reduction in the energy tax will be than it was a year ago. And last year, there was not majority support for a 10% reduction.
So you're not going to be voting on Wednesday for the energy tax?
We will.
Oh, you will?
We will take a vote on Wednesday whether or not to put any proposals on the reconciliation list.
What are you all or your staff sitting down and hashing out the reconciliation list?
Wednesday and Thursday.
And the other kind of major thing that's on there is this $11 million approximately for Montgomery College.
Right.
How do you reconcile that if you're looking at possibly losing $11 million in revenue?
Well, it's difficult. It would mean drawing down the reserve. And the county executive has warned us about drawing down the reserve, but no matter what we do, we'll still have a healthy reserve. So, you know, we're just trying to balance a lot of considerations. There's priorities that we'd like to achieve. The college says that the county executive did not recommend enough to enable the college to fund its negotiated agreements. It's my understanding that the school system is actually reopening its compensation agreements. I'm at this point trying to get a solid majority of council members towards an agreement on the budget. And as far as my own view, I will be comfortable with what the will of the body is with respect to the college. I don't anticipate that we will fund the entire amount that was placed on the reconciliation list by the committee. It'll be something short of that.
Was this the reopening of the compensation at MCPS? Was this a pre-existing setup reopening per contract?
No. The president of the school board called me, and she's spoken with other council members as well. It's not a secret. They don't have any reason for optimism that the governor will release the $17 million that he's sitting on. And under those circumstances, they have to begin the new year based on the funds that they actually have. And so according to President O'Neill, they're going to reopen negotiations over compensation, with the
Teachers.
expectation that they won't have the money that they hoped they would have.
And this includes teachers.
All school employees, teachers and everybody else.
So this would be with both unions, I guess.
I assume it's, well, they have, it's the teachers union and SEIU and the principals union.
This bill that came in recently, it was about use, I think you sponsored it, but it was at the behest of the county executive regarding hotel room tax.
That's correct.
Things about like Airbnb and all
That's
that.
correct.
Talk about what that would do and the issue that's sort of presented by these new sort of companies, new sorts of systems like Airbnb that people can stay at, and how that sort of goes around what hotels do on offer.
The bill very simply imposes hotel motel tax when a resident rents out a room through a service like Airbnb. And it's very easy to know if a resident is renting it out because it's right there on the internet. So, as these online services gain popularity, they run the risk of cutting into our hotel motel revenue, and we think it's fair for all providers of short-term transient lodging to pay a tax, because people from out of the county do draw on county resources. I mean, they drive on county roads, they're protected by the police for the time that they're here, so there's a solid policy justification for taxing short-term transient lodgers in the county to enable them to contribute a little bit to the services that they use when they're here.
Other places imposing this tax?
The hotel motel tax in Washington, D.C. is also being modified to also account for Airbnb, and I believe Prince George's County made that same modification. Am I correct? We were in touch with Prince George's County on this same issue. So other jurisdictions are doing the same thing.
Another tax, the tax on e-cigarettes that the committee talked about
Yes.
and recommended. One of the things they were talking about is possibly coming back and actually raising that to 50% instead of 30. Where do you stand on that?
I've spoken with Mr. Hucker. I like this bill. I think it's entirely reasonable that this product should be taxed. It's a new product, and so government hasn't acted as quickly to tax it as it has historically with tobacco products. My preference, I think, is that the rates stay the same as tobacco products. I think as a policy matter, that makes the most sense. And that's a 30% tax.
And does the county have jurisdiction here? Because the state generally taxes tobacco.
Well, we have the authority to impose excise taxes. And our legal staff advises that we do have the authority to impose this tax. Bruce Bariano, who's a vigorous advocate for tobacco, spoke and told us we don't have the authority, and he makes routine visits to the county council and indicates that we don't have the authority to do the things that we propose to do, and for the most part, he's found not to be correct. Anything else? All right, good. Short meeting. That's what I like. Thanks a lot. Good to see you.